Hello, gamers!
I think we have a very, very good reason to believe that the upcoming characters for Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl for DLC are going to be the highly requested ones. And why do I say that? Well, I had to do a little bit of digging to find this. It took me forever, and then I realized I was doing it wrong, and then I found it, and then it was like, okay. So I had to go onto the official Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl Discord. It was something that Thaddeus said, like months ago, back in September, he said this. And I think it's even more relevant now today than it was maybe even a couple months ago, just based on the events that have unfolded since Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has released. So, as we know, let me bring this up real quick. Last week, right? The 15th. That was last week? Yeah, last week. The developer update, right? They told us a bunch of things. The latest free DLC character will be coming to the game pretty soon. There are a bunch of characters and stages in the works right now. That's the main one I'm going to focus on. So, since there's a bunch of them that are in the works right now, who could they be? Now, we don't have an actual clue or a hint for any of them, besides most likely the free DLC being Shredder, but we're going to set him aside and focus on the other ones. Who could they be? So, that brings me back to this point, what I was looking up. So, Thaddeus was replying to somebody who asked him a question, like Thaddeus always did back then, still does. But somebody asked him, for DLC specifically, would they accept the developers? Would they accept suggestions from the fans as for who we want to see for DLC? Unfortunately, the answer was kind of a no, but it's actually a yes. And what I mean by that is, Thaddeus replies, DLC characters would be in the exact same way as the main characters. They're going to be chosen by Ludosity and Game Mill ultimately. So those are the two parties that will decide which characters ultimately get into this game as playable. But then they have to be approved by Nick. But I think at this point, Nickelodeon should just be willing to say, all right, it's a Nickelodeon character, sure, approved. So I'm pretty sure that's how that's going to go, right? It'd be unfair and cruel to try to spin it as any suggestions. So he's kind of saying there's no official way for you guys to make suggestions for us to say, all right, that's who the fans want. But the important thing is what he follows this up with. The very next thing he follows this up with is, with that being said, we hear y'all loud and clear for DLC. That means they know who the community wants. The developers, Game Mill, Ludosity, they know who we want to see. Now, there might be a couple characters, Jimmy and Timmy, that have some, we'll say, issues maybe with them coming into the game. So if there's outside issues that are holding this back, somebody else holding the rights to something that, Nickelodeon would have to essentially negotiate with somebody else. If that's somewhat of a sticking point, then maybe those characters are off limits. But I still have no doubt that they would have revisited that situation for DLC especially, right? The fans want it. If we think about this, right? The game was getting super hyped up. Everyone's excited for it. The game comes out and it's like, okay, cool. And then players just started leaving the game because of bugs, things that just weren't. The game wasn't ready to be launched. We all know this, right? The developers themselves said they wish they had another 6 months to work on the game to make it actually ready for launch, but Nickelodeon was like, nope, put the game out. So with the developers knowing all that and the game kind of, I'm not going to say dying because it's not dead. It's definitely not dead. It's going to be on the upswing here. It's starting to snowball again. But with the developers kind of seeing players leaving for various reasons, right? They want to try to get back those players and then, of course, keep adding new ones over time. And again, with that announcement they made last week with the next free DLC characters coming soon, crossplay available in Q1 of 2022, so that's from January 1st to March 31st. That's going to be the time frame of when that will drop. This whole thing was basically them saying, here, you guys asked for all of this, you can have all of this. That's basically what they said. And the characters, a bunch of characters and stages in the works, this should be no different. It's essentially they're saying, we hear, like I showed, Thaddeus says, we hear you loud and clear on your suggestions for characters on who you want to see. And who are those characters? Now, whether you want all three of them or not, I think we could still agree that the top three most requested characters are Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, and Jenny Wakeman. I think we could all agree on that. At least they're the ones that pretty much top every single, there's unofficial fan polls on Reddit and Twitter, and I had my little yay or nay series that we did. Those were the top 3 most wanted characters, and it's like, all right, we pretty much know who are, and that's the thing. Even with all these different sources of people voting and saying who they want, a lot of like the top 10, top 15 most wanted characters are pretty much the same. Now maybe they're changed a couple different positions from a different list, but they're essentially still the same characters, which is really cool. So with that, with that being said, so I found one. This right here. No, not that. This. I found this one. Here's a poll from really big. So there's over 3,000 votes, and it ranked from the most requested character to the least requested. I mean, look at who's on here. Jimmy Neutron number 1, Jenny Wakeman number 2, Timmy Turner number 3. Again, it's like the same characters are in the same spots. But then if we look at other characters, say if Jimmy and Timmy do have a little bit of issues that can't quite be worked out for this game, all right, we set them aside, right? So does that leave the door wide open for Jenny Wakeman to be the number 1 character? I think she has a pretty good chance. I think she's got a pretty good chance. But then who's after that, right? We get Squidward, another SpongeBob rep. Lots of people would love to see another SpongeBob rep, which is fine. And it's not just Squidward, right? Same thing for my stats for the Yay or Nay series. Squidward's up there, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton were like the top 3 SpongeBob characters. So let's see. There's Mr. Krabs and there's Plankton. 3 SpongeBob characters placed in the top 11 characters. It's like the same thing with mine. It's like the same characters are placed in around the exact same placement. So if we take this sample, if we take these ideas, the same literal information that we're getting from all these different sources, and if the devs know this, the devs know who we want to see, we can pretty much kind of figure out who should be coming to the game. So we could just, if we even just take this list, right, and say we get 6 DLC characters in total, paid ones, after most likely Shredder. Say we get 6. All right, take the top 20, take the top 30 characters on this list. I bet you there's a 99% chance we see all of them on here. So like I said, Jimmy, Jenny, Timmy, Squidward, Hugh Neutron is, whether you like him as a character, whether you think people only want him for meme, he gets both. People do want to see him. Zuko from Avatar, Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life, another classic Nicktoon. Lots of people would still love to see. Crimson Chin, Poe from Kung Fu Panda, Krabs and Plankton, Raphael, Skipper from Penguins of Madagascar, Donatello, Otis, El Tigre is up there, Arnold is in there, Carl Weezer, Snap from Chalkselm, Daggett Norbert, the Angry Beavers, Jorgen von Strangle from Fairly Odd Parents. How did I not remember his name? Sokka, we got Rango from Rango, that's interesting. Princess Azula, like Vlad from Danny Phantom. You're going to see the exact same characters over and over and over again, which pretty much gives us a clue as to who most likely we will be seeing in the game. Now again, probably, I think with all honesty, 99% of the characters that we will see for DLC, I bet you are on this list right here in the top 25, top 20 characters. I bet you that's who we're going to see. So, again, they know who we want. They're listening to us. And again, they're trying to get those people that maybe left the game, right? Maybe they left because the game didn't feel polished, or they're waiting for an update to fix something, or they're waiting to add a character, whatever it might be. There's people that are still out there that are still waiting. I still get comments every once in a while that are like, I will play this game. I just need them to fix it. Like somebody, I think just last week, somebody's asking for or telling me a story about they play on the Xbox version, and it can be very stuttery, and there's like frame rate drops still, and if they can fix that, I will play this game. So if they can get stuff like that, simple little things fixed, they will have more players. They will have more of a fan base. They will have more people playing this game. So that's cool. That's great. But we got to wait and see who's ultimately chosen. But I think for the most part, the DLC, I don't think the DLC is going to be a dud. I don't think they're going to be, stinkers. I don't think they're going to be characters that hardly anybody is asking for. And let me take no disrespect, but how about anybody know Action League Now? Stinky Diver? There's a few different characters on there, but what if they took somebody from Action League Now and put him as a DLC character? That would be confusing to a lot of people, right? Like, wait a minute, you've heard who we want, but then that's who we get? I don't know. And especially if the characters are going to be paid for, if we have to pay for them, are they going to really go out on their? Are they going to go out of their way to give us characters that we essentially didn't want? Now, I'm sure Nickelodeon might step in possibly and say, okay, we want this character in the game, make it happen, and then maybe something like that happens. But for the most part, I think the DLC is going to be just fine. I think it's going to be just fine. We're going to get what we want, hopefully. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Is the DLC going to be? Do you think it's going to be a letdown? Do you think Nickelodeon will? Because it's the whole reason I'm making this video. Some people say, I've seen the narrative of a few people thinking now that DLC, a bunch of characters are in development. Some people have the narrative of Nickelodeon's going to push their own agenda. They're going to push the characters that only they want. So essentially, maybe they're not necessarily listening to the community, but they're going to just put who they want in this game. I don't think maybe a character, maybe two in Nickelodeon will. Maybe they're going to be that way, but I think for the most part, I think we'll get who we want, the highly requested one. So let me know what you guys think about who's coming to the game, and then who, even though I've asked that question about 1,000,000 times. Either way, that is going to be it for this little video today. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, I guess I'll see you when I'm looking at you.